Looks like Jonathan Tannenwald is first. Go ahead, Jonathan.
Thanks, Aaron, and thanks, Tobin, for the time. I believe this is the first chance we've gotten to talk to you since you signed for Arsenal. And, it was a big enough deal when you signed for Manchester United, but now that the roster says Tobin Heath, Arsenal next to it, I suspect that might mean a little something extra for you, does it?
Yeah, certainly. It's something. I mean, I'm a huge Arsenal fan. It was my first childhood club team that I really followed, and I fell in love with at a young age. Obviously, they have incredible history on the women's side as well that I'm looking forward to being a part of. I feel like in our minds, we all think like our club career is going to go a certain way, and in the last couple years, a change in kind of my plans has given me, opportunities that I never thought I'd be able to get, and this is one of them.
What's the timeline at this point for getting over there and settling in and you might be
As soon as possible. I'm supposed to be going right from camp.
Thank you, kind.
Thanks, Jonathan. Let's go back to Michael DeCourcy. Go ahead, Mike.
Yes, Tobin, I hope you won't mind. I wanted to ask you about playing, as you guys, this is going to be your last game with Carly, and I wondered if you could talk about what she's meant relative to your career as you played with her, the great tournaments you've won, championships you've won. What do you think of her as a player and a teammate?
Yeah, I mean, I hope this isn't. I hope I get a couple more games with her, but if this is the last, I will cherish it.
Oh, my bad. I thought that they said that you were leaving after this tournament. I'm sorry.
She's leaving, but she's coming back. That's what she does. She flies all over the world. So.
Yeah, but I can't speak highly enough about Carly and what she's meant to this team, to the federation, to myself personally. Obviously coming from Jersey as well and having that type of role model, a few years older, was something that I couldn't have asked for a better one in the footballing world. She's done things that are just unheard of in the game and legend status for sure, and the way that she's gone about her business and the type of professional she is, and the way that she's, the reason why the U.S. Women's National Team has, the history of success that we've had in big tournaments is, in a large way due to Carly Lloyd and the big time plays that she's had in big time moments, and the way that, it's not surprising that she's had those moments because you watch how she works, how she does her job, and everything is set up and prepared to be successful in the moments that count. And yeah, we're certainly gonna miss that, and also just miss her as a person and kind of the life and the strength that she's given to this team.
Awesome. Very well said, Tobin Heath. Let's go to Pat Brennan.
Cool. Thanks, Aaron. Tobin, thanks very much for your time. I think I'll probably ask a few of the cliche questions about the market that you guys are posted up in right now. And starting out, Tobin, I'd just like to ask you what your impression has been of TQL Stadium, the training facility you guys were able to use. It's all pretty new here. The MLS club that uses it is very proud of these things. How did you experience these facilities so far?
Yeah, I've only been fortunate enough to go to the training facility so far, and it was world class. And you can tell just being around the city how much the sports teams mean to a place like this, and how unifying that is in a city like this, and how passionate they are about their teams. I'm looking forward to seeing the stadium, I think, later today, because I've only heard great things, and not just about the stadium, but about the fan base and about what soccer means here. So obviously it's an honor to be able to play in a city where soccer means so much and where they've invested a lot in it in the city.
Aaron, if I could ask a follow-up.
Please.
Real quick. Okay. Tobin, when you you know, in your national team career, places like Cincinnati, and there are others like them, particularly in the Midwest, that weren't really on the soccer map, and now you'll play a match tomorrow in front of more than 20,000 spectators. What do you think about that says of kind of the pull of your national team and the growth of the game across this country that you have obviously contributed to greatly?
Yeah, I mean, the growth of the game has been incredible all throughout the U.S. and the world in general. I think in markets like this in particular, it's always been a really pleasant surprise how the people have come out and supported us in a big way. I think it's not surprising. I feel like places, cities like Cincinnati and like Cleveland, it's just ripe for sports, and I think it's really really amazing to see how much they don't just support, you know, the big leagues, but also football or soccer, and particularly the women's side. And obviously having a hometown hero like Rose Lavelle certainly helps that.
Thank you for indulging me on the Cincinnati questions. Appreciate it.
No worries.
Thanks, Pat. Let's go to Seth Vertelny. Go ahead, Seth.
Hey, Tobin, thanks for the time today. You mentioned that you were an Arsenal fan before you became an Arsenal player. So just wondering what drew you to the club in the first place, and now that you're there, how you feel like your style of play will fit in with the setup that they have now.
I mean, I think it's serendipitous to kind of the time that I was becoming passionate about football and the way Arsenal was as a club. The amount of the players that were playing there, the amount of trophies that were being won was incredible. Obviously, having a coach like Arsene that was completely revolutionizing the game of football and also being successful doing it. I was attracted to the style of play, to the certain players that were playing there, and you know, your first love of a club is something that is kind of unchanging and unwavering through it all. And then, you know, if you look on the women's side of things, they were I guess in the landscape of European football, they were at the forefront of women's football, creating a team, investing in a team, winning both Champions League and the domestic league. So it's a club that it's easy to be passionate about, and one that is really deep in my heart and in my history of football.
Thank you.
Thank you. Last couple for Tobin. Let's go to Alex Ozzie. Go ahead, Alex.
Hey, Tobin, thanks so much for taking the time. A follow-up actually kind of on that last point. You know, you're talking about the time that you're becoming passionate, also falling in love with Arsenal, and I think what you mean there is Arsenal men's team, and then mentioning the history of the women. And I'm curious, like, going back to your childhood in that period, like, were you aware that Arsenal also had a women's team? And if not, that obviously falls on us, the media. But what's your thoughts in terms of people being able to look at Arsenal women's team now with you on it?
Well, even when I first started watching football, it wasn't even available in the U.S. So the landscape has completely changed. I feel like the global market of football in general, like the two teams that kind of entered it in the U.S. landscape was Manchester United and Arsenal, in terms of our understanding of the Premier League and kind of their marketing strategy getting into the U.S. So women's soccer wasn't even a thought when these big teams started coming into our market and games were starting to appear. I wish that now, the way that everything's so readily available, I wish I had that as a kid, because the type of effort it took to find videos and highlights and all that was insanely difficult. But totally worth it. And now it's just so readily available. And then if you look at the landscape of women's football and and how that is appearing now. It's still super difficult. It's super difficult to find women's games. I find it incredibly frustrating. Some of, we have World Cup qualifiers going on, and I have no idea where to find some of these games. And then at a club level, I think there's been, a really positive thing was the WSL signing with Sky. I think that's absolutely incredible. It's a massive TV deal for women's football, and that's going to completely change the landscape of football over in England. And I just think it just needs to be easier to find, easier to watch, because there's a really good product being shown right now on the field. So hopefully, fast forward, we see kind of a similar trend.
Excellent. Thanks, Tobin. Let's go to Simon Bork. Go ahead, Simon.
Hi, Tobin. Looking at the game against Paraguay, clearly the result is not going to be in question here, but how does the number one team in the world, what do you want to get out of a game to make it worthwhile? Is there any one thing in particular you're looking to get out of it as a team to make sure you're improving in any one area, or again, how are you trying to get something out of it?
Yeah, I think this team has this insatiable hunger for greatness and for betterment. So I think with every game, with every opponent, we're usually focused on ourselves and trying to grow and develop as a team. We don't get that much time together, so it's invaluable to be able to come together, to play together, to meet together in order to continue to develop. We have a lot of development that needs to happen between now and the World Cup. So I think any moment we get together, we get to play a match, is super important. And you'll always see that with this team. There's 100% focus, 100% wanting to be at our best no matter the opponent. I think that for us, though, it's always a test against ourselves, both collectively and individually, and hopefully we can continue to take the necessary strides forward to get where we want to go.
Awesome. All right, last one for Tobin goes back to Jonathan Tannenwald. Go ahead.
Thanks, Aaron, and thanks again, Tobin. I'm curious how your conversations with Jonas Eidevall have gone so far, and also you talked about the players you're going to be with at Arsenal. A lot of whom you've played with a couple of them, you've played against a lot of them over a long time. Does that make it easier settling in over there?
Yeah, with Jonas, we had a great first conversation about his vision for the team, kind of his style of play, the way he runs his practices, the things that are important to him. You can already tell that the team is in a much different, kind of mentality, frame of mind going into the season, I think, than the prior one, which is credit to kind of him coming in and implementing his ideas in a quick way. So I'm really excited to get in there and see what that's going to be like. And then in terms of the team, they're an incredibly talented team. It's actually ridiculous the talent it has, but that's not to say that talent is only worth so much. Obviously, there's a lot that goes into a team being great. I've obviously played with Steph and with Caitlin, and who are great players, great teammates. So that's easy. And then obviously against all the other internationals who I just have a huge amount of respect for. So in terms of getting into that locker room, I'm excited to be challenged, and I'm excited to have to work hard and perform day in and day out to be a part of a squad that's really ambitious to win a lot.
Thanks much and good luck.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Tobin. Really appreciate the time.
Thank you, guys.